Don't you have to assign him as a panelist or something?
Well, he's in the meeting last I looked. Well, welcome everyone to the first meeting of the new Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. As this is our first gathering with the new restructuring, I'd like to point out that tonight's meeting agenda follows Ordinance 9984, which outlines that advisory boards shall, at the first meeting of each calendar year, select a chair and vice chair and set the time and place for regular public meetings. So that is what is on our agenda, along with a few other things. But and also, just for folks on Zoom, just remember to mute when you're not speaking. And everybody should know that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded on Zoom and on the City of Lawrence YouTube channel. So before we get into the agenda, since it is a new group, I thought we would provide some time and do some quick welcome and introductions, just so everybody knows who everybody else is. And because Lee is to my left, I'm going to ask Lee to start.
I'm Lee Ice, lifelong resident of Lawrence, born and raised here. Actually been I guess on the board for about 6 months, and was very happy to be reappointed this second
On the old board.
On the old board, yes. Mm-hmm. So I'm very happy to be here on this new one.
And you work for the department.
Yeah, for a little
Couple of years.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Hull. I think I've met everybody at some time or other, probably 10, 15 years ago. I've known Taylor since he was a teenager. I am retired from from nonprofit management. I've been on the old advisory board for maybe 5 years, and I'm happy to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm Vicki Colley-Akers. I'm a shared staff person with the University of Kansas Medical Center and Lawrence Douglas County Public Health, where I serve as Director of Policy and Planning. As a public health researcher and practitioner, I'm really interested in the intersection of Parks and Rec and the built environment, which influences public health. I also am raising a family here, so youth sports is a big part of our daily lives. So deeply interested in that as well.
My name is Ruth DeWitt, and I have been in Lawrence 20 years, which I can hardly believe. I would say 4 years, but it's been almost 20. And I have 2 sons who went through a lot of Parks and Recs program, and my oldest Eagle Scout project was putting up the signs at Hitchcock Park, those directional signs, so he worked with Lee on that. I'm currently at Explore Lawrence. Part of my job is community outreach and the other half is sales. So I get to go sell Lawrence as a destination during the daytime. So it's always very pertinent about what facilities we have that people can use when they're looking for tournaments and things. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm John Nalbandian, and I'm a retired faculty member, School of Public Affairs and Administration at KU. Specialty was local government. In addition to that work, I was on the City Commission for 2 4-year terms, including terms as mayor as well. Been on the Parks and Rec Board forever, it seems, and served as chair as well. Participated heavily in Parks and Rec programs as well.
My name is Taylor Bussinger. I am an 8th grade social studies teacher over in Olathe, but I am a lifelong resident, born and raised here in Lawrence, Kansas. Currently raising my family. I have 2 small kids, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, so youth sports are a big thing to us. And so I'm looking forward to learning a lot, and being on board with Lee, who had to put up with me as I leave school and go to Holcomb as a kid, and just being raised by rec centers and the community that brings. So I'm happy to be here.
Where do you live?
I live over by Sunflower in Southwest,
Oh, okay.
here in town.
I'm Luis Ruiz. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation, Art, and Culture. I took this position beginning May 13th of this year, so I'm going into 5 months right now. Actually, a little bit over 5 months, and met these fine, dedicated people the first day I started. Actually, the first day.
That's right.
And so looking forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Hart, Assistant Director over Recreation and Programming. I've been here almost 3 years in November.
Mark? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, if I could figure out how to unmute. Hi, I'm Mark Ecker. I'm one of the assistant directors of Parks and Rec. I kind of oversee the facility maintenance and park maintenance operations, also budget and capital improvements.
And I'm Porter Arneal, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation for Arts and Culture. Recently sort of moved over to Parks and Rec with the whole effort of the master plan that's going on. And has been fun. We've had some fun. And other challenges. But it's all good. And of course, Lawrence is pretty dedicated to arts and culture, so I'm glad that it has a good home. Lisa, what we're doing is just intros. So I'm going to throw you on the spot, but just a brief intro of who you are and what interests you about Parks and Recreation.
My name is Lisa Hallberg. I am very interested in built environment, bicycling, and activities related to what the Parks and Rec Department, and of course arts as well, have to offer for Lawrence, and I'm excited to add my voice to the conversation.
Great, thank you. Okay, and so we have full attendance, duly noted. I've got that jotted down. We do have space for public comment. We have no minutes to approve, Again, new board, so no past minutes or anything. General public comment, but unless Mark wants to say something, I think we're covered. Nobody is in the room that wants to do public comment, so no public comment tonight. So what we've done is, this is obviously new to all of us. Did everybody get a chance to attend one of the orientation trainings? Not yet, okay. So the good news is that there's going to be a video that should be done very soon that we'll share with everybody, so you can go through that. And I think eventually, as time passes on, they're going to do more iterations of that. But this will be good because we'll kind of cover some stuff. And of course, with Explore Lawrence, you've heard a lot about the strategic plan and things. So I can we can probably set up a time where I can just, help run through things just so you're up to speed with everybody else. But otherwise, everybody's had at least that training. Okay, great. So yeah, I'm just going to go through. A lot of this too is, remember that these agendas are available to all of you. We intentionally link things here, obviously, so that you can always refer back to an agenda if there's anything you want to go to. So quickly, I'm going to run through this.
Mark lost audio.
Oh. Huh. Is he still on? Yeah.
We didn't do anything.
Mark, can you still hear us? You may be having interweb problems. Can you hear us? No? Huh. Kurt, do you have any thoughts on why Mark can't hear us?
Yeah, he's terrible at Zoom.
They couldn't hear you, so that's a good thing.
I guess, yeah, you can't hear it.
I think you heard.
Okay. So, I need to share my screen here.
Put it on closed caption.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you, John. Where is closed caption? They keep changing this thing. Those tools.
Add the interpretive dance button as well.
Do you know where closed caption is?
It's right by interpretive dance.
Behind the big screens.
Chat, react, share.
You make this look easy.
I know that it's an option, but I'm not sure.
Who knows if the city actually pays for that part? I don't know.
I don't see it anywhere.
Maybe in apps.
No, because apps, you have to add things.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, is it here?
Well, at least this first part's going well.
I think I know what you mean.
He can actually call too.
He's not in this meeting.
Oh, he's not in the meet. We're having internet issues. I
Maybe.
can't even text him or chat with him. That's amazing. I've never seen this, that we can see him. Can you text him?
Yeah, the YouTube video is working. I just texted Annette. She's listening and she can hear us, so.
Okay, well, that's good
FYI,
news.
we can-
I'm pretty sure our audio is working because I can even see the indicator. But for whatever reason, he's not hearing us. And so if he can either call in.
I'll text him. Sorry, that was me.
Oh, okay.
I want to turn your ringer off.
That would be best. Then he can listen that way. Or, yeah, he can listen. At this point, I don't think we need his contribution, so if he wants to listen by YouTube. Problem is, there's a delay, so if he's hearing us and trying to do that, it's going to get confusing. Okay.
All right.
Take care.
So hopefully we get that coordinated. Okay, so I clicked on that link, and that takes us to this page on iCompass, which has all the advisory boards, policies, the new ordinance, the policy, the meeting procedures, and the ethics policy here. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. All the different existing boards, all the new boards are here, including the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So there's description here, key documents, which we do not have anything policy-wise other than the existing policies and other information. And then if I click here, it takes us to our membership. And this will tell everybody, one is that you are on here in case you don't know, so that if your email is available to people, so if people have thoughts or anything want to convey that to you, they can reach you through this. And then obviously it shows everybody's terms for the next several years. So, okay. Are we good on that?
Can I ask a question? 'Cause
Yeah.
I saw there's 2 shorter terms, right? Are those auto-renewing at the end of the term? Is that what's happening?
I typically what they do is that unless somebody's already served 2 3-year terms or fulfilled a term, then they're given the option to ask to be reinstated so that they have first refusal, so to speak, typically. With the new system, I think that's what they're doing. But it's also so that the terms are staggered, right? That was the idea behind it. Okay, and then as well on this, I put together this package which summarizes all the different aspects of the new policies. Basically, the 2 key ones is obviously the ordinance that creates all these different boards and commissions, and Resolution 7472, which establishes the standard policy governing the operations and conduct advisory boards, commissions, and other advisory bodies. And to hopefully make your lives a little bit easier, I've included a copy of that in your packet tonight. And I have also gone through and highlighted sort of the key areas that touch on different aspects of responsibility. So term of appointment, communications, the duties of the chair, the advisory board members, the staff liaison, and then the norms of all the boards and commissions. So, and we'll get into more of this, but basically everything ties back to the city's strategic plan. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But again, this is available to you if you need it. Happy to email it to you if you want. And it is on this webpage, so you can always go and find that. And then this is the link to the city's strategic plan, which if you're not familiar, has all the information about the strategic plan and our key performance indicators as such here. When they show up, takes a minute. This is through a new system, so. But to be easier than trying to do this on a web page, what I've also done is created a very short presentation, which again, I have to share my screen. Whoops. There we go. So I'm going to go here, share, and I will start this. Kurt, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. And I think I can close it. No. I can minimize it and just go here. Okay. So, and sorry, some of this is redundant. If you did do the orientation, this is redundant. But again, pointing back to it, here's the strategic plan, and this shows the overarching framework, the vision, the mission, and the different values that we hold. The outcomes are the 5 areas of the work that we do. And so we represent unmistakable identity, and Luis is the champion for unmistakable identity as part of our department. That's also about the master plan we're doing in folding arts and culture under unmistakable identity as part of the department. And then, of course, there's strong, welcoming neighborhoods, safe and secure, prosperity and economic security, and connected city, which is municipal services and operations. Then we also have 6 commitment areas, which is the way we do our work: community engagement, efficient and effective processes, equity and inclusion, sound fiscal stewardship, engaged and empowered teams, and environmental sustainability. So those are the things that we're committed to as a city. I know a lot of you have already heard this. And again, unmistakable identity: Lawrence is a welcoming community synonymous with arts, diverse culture, fun, and a quintessential downtown. City parks and community events contribute to the vibrancy experienced by all people in Lawrence. And these are sort of the key element that we refer to, and Luis may want to talk about this a little bit too. These are the progress indicators for unmistakable identity. And what I've done here to help people understand, so each of these represents something that unmistakable identity is committed to, right? But they also tie back to some of those commitment areas. So we have community engagement, efficient and effective processes, equity and inclusion, sound fiscal stewardship, engaged and empowered teams, and environmental sustainability. And this was a slide I used for the Art Commission, so apologies. That's why some of these are highlighted. That was focused on the Arts Commission, but it hits both boards. And that's the other thing, is we have 2 boards for this unmistakable identity area. Yeah, John?
Porter, is there anything in there about public health?
There is not. I saw your email today, but they're not in the strategic plan.
Whoops, why is this
They're a
keep
real
jumping
missing
on me?
ingredient, I think. That's why Vicky's on the board.
I mean, there are ways that I think that could be incorporated into some of these, but we'd have to really dissect, and because the key indicators, the key performance indicators are measures of success. Moving the needle on each of these is, what I'm graded on, if you will, how effectively we're doing that. So it's not to say it's not spelled out, but that conversation can be had.
Yes.
And I think that's the key thing. Obviously, this is new to a lot of people. Me as a staff liaison for various boards, just trying to fully grasp this. But clearly what it's about is really saying, this is what we're committed to, and trying to keep us on task and focused, and not have to chase too many different interest areas, because we do have a lot of people that have different interests. So keep us on task and advise the city, working with staff, advise the city commission on policies going forward related to the strategic plan.
And if my understanding is correct, and I wasn't around when the new ordinance and the resolution, all that was in discussion, is that a lot of the boards had lost kind of that directive. It's let's use you as advisors in the business of the city, and it was a lot of outside interest coming in and then telling city staff what to do, and then going, and I think they're trying to rein that in a little bit and saying, okay, these are what we're focusing on. This is what advisory boards, should be helping us in reaching. So oversimplification, this will be developed as we go. I don't think any boards really have any answers of how they're going to proceed, but we're all kind of feeling our way through this new iteration of advisory boards.
And the other aspect of the policies is that boards can write their own bylaws beyond the standards that we have now. So the standards are for all boards and commissions at this point under this purview, but then each board has the ability to write its own new bylaws. But that, of course, is something of a process, and it has to tie back to these things. Okay. And then, of course, we just wanted to touch on the comprehensive plan that's been underway since last fall, actually. This is from the webpage, the information about the comprehensive plan, which many of you were very much involved with, along with the steering committee. These, for those who may not know, these are the consultants that we worked with. Confluence was the lead. We worked with Pros Consulting, which has extensive experience in parks and recreation in general. Designing Local was the arts consultant on the team, and the ETC Institute helped us with surveys. And that is what would you call it? The initial draft is then presented back to us as staff, and we're going through it and making sure that edits
The revised draft.
The revised draft,
Yes.
thank you.
So we are, And we have gone through it. There is a lot of corrections and things that they have to do before we accept it.
So that timeline is not up to date.
No, no, it isn't, and that's why I put this in. So we're targeting before the end of the year to get it before the city commission, at least for their, acceptance. And then we have a document that gives us something to work with. I mean, quite honestly, the budget challenges impacted what we can do with this. It is a 10-year plan, though, so it does have, it's very much relevant going forward, but we had struggled through the budget season, and obviously that's making things a little more challenging. So that is that.
Wow.
So let me stop sharing. Any questions at this point? Oops.
And I think one of the things that I told Porter, if there are questions that, because again, we're resetting what advisory boards, how we work together. So if there are any questions, I probably can't answer them, but I can take them back and try to get some answers. If there are any directional questions or anything, while we're establishing how we go through this moving forward.
As a board, we're pretty independent from the arts culture board, right?
Right. This is it, that's Parks and Recreation is Parks and Recreation, and Arts and Culture with the Arts Commission was kept separate.
It just seems a little weird to me.
Because now it's one department, so we're,
It's new territory.
Yeah.
So we're all kind of working to understand it and figure out. And I will share just personally that as I begin to grasp this, because I've already met with the Art Commission a couple of times, part of this is that once I start understanding it, then new ideas start to emerge. Like, oh, okay, this is the direction we could go in. And it's also a chance for, potentially new opportunities. With the Art Commission, some of their programs go back 30 years, which is great on one hand, but is it really keeping up with current times, and are we benefiting our local art scene as well as we could? So that's what I'm beginning to see. So that's part of the innovation that can come out of something like this. Not that that's, I'm not here to be the champion of anything, but just to share that insight that I've already gained a little bit of.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the old board, the agenda had a few other items, including reports from staff and items of interest of the board members. Are those both going away?
I think they are, yeah. It's a new day, so we can, reestablish and.
Yeah, at least certainly the routine reporting. That doesn't mean that when we take up an issue, we're not, providing an update on wherever we are. But yes, that's kind of what we've gotten is we're targeting very specifically the strategic plan. We can agree as a group, or you as advisors, hey, we'd like to attack this issue, move the needle. How can we do that? Then we engage you in that conversation, but it has to be attached to the strategic plan. And that's what they're trying to do with all the boards, making sure that we're all working off of one document, and I'm not using this term in a negative way, but not special interests or anything like that, but that we're collectively, as advisory groups and all departments, are really working toward accomplishing what the strategies that are in the strategic plan, which are measured by our KPIs.
Well, what I think we ought to have connected to that is we ought to have a 6-month review of how the board feels about its contributions. And what could we be doing more of? What should we be doing less of? Just so that, I want to be spending my time in ways that are useful to me as well as, And so I think if we actually did have a sort of formal review, informal review though, just how do the board members feel about their work on the board?
Maybe before we jump into those types of conversations, which is, I think makes sense, we should go through the rest of the agenda, because part of this is electing a chair and vice chair
Okay, go ahead.
for that that kind of purpose, so.
Sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
So thanks for the level setting about the revised purpose of the board. Given that, what is the expectation regarding reporting out on progress with the strategies and regular reporting of the KPIs to this group?
From the department to the group? Yeah, absolutely, that can be part of the process, and whoever the chair is, we would be working with the chair.
Okay.
You know, it really, the way the ordinance is written, it's the staff liaison, which is Roger, is a primary contact with the chair and the kind of the means to get to the governing body. But the agenda items that we talk about, especially if they're related to KPIs, can be had on a regular basis.
Okay.
The only thing I will say is that some of these KPIs are updated biannually.
Yeah.
You know, we do the ETC, so not every meeting will we have something, but those that we can measure on an ongoing basis, absolutely, we can report. And not to mention that this is also accessible to the public, you know, or even to you as board members, but that's point well taken, and once the chair is decided, and, you know, they will work with staff to create the agenda items, and that very well could be KPI reporting.
Thanks.
Sure.
yeah, and this is the KPIs, the current information we have, which is always on the city's website. So, unless there's other questions, the next step, we'll just sort of throw you into it, is the chair is responsible for presiding over meetings and shall have those additional duties established by the advisory board's bylaws, if and when those come. And so the process is to just nominate or self-nominate anybody that would be interested in serving as chair, and then we'll go through a regular election process to determine who the chair is, and then we'll do the same thing for the vice chair. John, do you want to speak a little bit about your experience as chair? That might help people have a sense of what the job entails.
I think a lot of that really does depend on the individual. I think what's really important is, you know, feeling like I had access to Luis. I mean, I think that's really important, you know. But I think it really does depend on the person, how involved you want to be in that kind of thing.
And I will say, if I may add to that, even though I think how does it say? Chair of advisory board shall communicate with the staff liaison on matters related to the advisory board's operation agenda. So that doesn't mean that I'm out of the picture. You know, I think we want one point of contact, but that conversation can be expanded once that happens. And again, we want to follow what this says, but I don't think that means to the exclusion of any communication with the department director that, you know, that has some input into the conversation. Staff liaisons aren't necessarily the biggest decision maker in the department, so, but they're the facilitator of the conversation, but that two-way communication with the department, whoever that may be, should exist. If we follow this to the letter, none of you would ever talk to me. If we went by all these highlighted sections, so.
Is that what you prefer?
I have a question. I mean, obviously, this is very much new territory, so, but as staff, what are your expectations for how much effort you would want from the chair in terms of hours per month or hours per week? I mean, maybe not that specific, but what are your expectations?
Well, so the way I understand that, and I'll give an example, and maybe this will help in figuring that, or answering that question, but let's give an example. Porter, can you pull up the KPIs so we can use one as an example? And all right, so let's say, again, going back to the KPIs, which are the measures of how we're doing on a strategic plan. Let's say we want to address UI5, percentage of Black and Indigenous people of color that residents rating the community as welcome. I'm just using that as an example, right? And because that is a measure, we want to work on this as staff. This is something that we've realized is either lacking or it's an opportunity for us to move the needle, right? Then it's about having a conversation with the chair, you know, saying we'd like to put this on the agenda and carry this out. Now, that conversation could maybe be had in one meeting. It might be 6 months, you know, as we develop it. But so I think more than anything, it's about getting the agenda, the item on the agenda, and then the facilitation of the meetings ongoing. So I don't see this as a big time consumer. It's more the facilitator having a conversation. What should we address? Because before it was like, who puts what on the agenda? And we had these just kind of these rote reports. So now it's a little bit more about having the conversation. Are we done yet? You know, are we done? What should we talk about next month? How should we progress? So, but it wouldn't be the work burden on the chairperson. It's still on staff. We're using you as advisors in that capacity, you know, as a group. How do we move the needle from your perspectives as advisory board members? So I don't think the workload is so much. It's more about frequent conversations to make sure that we're staying on track, and then facilitating during the meeting, and, you know, creating some follow-ups for the following month, and that type of thing. So again, trial and error here as we move through this. I think every board is, as I spoke to my supervisor, assistant city manager today, I think everybody's kind of trying to figure their way out through this, because it's been a total reset from how boards were functioning, and each one was functioning differently. You know, so, you know, I think we need to allow ourselves all a little bit of grace, not waste anybody's time. We want to make sure that it's productive, but knowing that, you know, there may be, you know, adjustments along the way as we start to progress toward this new goal.
And another component, I've had this conversation with the Arts Commission as well. This is the comprehensive plan webpage, and not that it's finalized yet, but just to give you an example, there are these different matrices that were set up by the consultant team. So in this case, it would be arts and culture, and then UI5. Oh goodness, that's really tiny. Sorry. You know, just to give you an example, UI5, one of the things that came out from all the community interaction, the steering committee, was strengthen the presence of indigenous community within the city through arts and culture collaborations. So that there are a list of things on all of these different areas that give us, you know, an indication of what is the community's interest in this area, and how might we work with that as an implementation, you know, component. And this includes financial program, operations and management, and parks and facilities.
And I will say, you'll probably not see advisory board on here, because at the time that this document at least was drafted and created, we weren't talking about such a direct correlation between the advisory boards and our deliverables. So even though we may not see it, I think when it says staff is responsible, as an advisory board, we would come to you for whatever we decide. And we have 14 KPIs. There's no way we're going to have 14 juggling at the same time. And again, one might be an easy solution. Another one might take months and months of conversation and development. So it's going to depend on what we decide to tackle. But again, just making sure it's connected to the strategic plan. And now when we have the comp plan, then we can use, you know, kind of loop those in and use those recommendations as strategies. It doesn't tell us how to do it. It says what to do, but it doesn't say how to do it, right? So that's what we're hoping to be able to gain from your guys' time.
So will staff be setting our agenda?
According to this, it's not staff, it's the chair
Working with staff.
working with staff. It doesn't give the
Okay,
staff
so
the
one of the
authority.
responsibilities of the chair is to have conversations with staff about what items should be on upcoming agendas.
Right. And it may, like I said, it may be the same thing for a few months. Maybe we know something's gonna, hey, let's try to tackle this in a 3-month period, and but still, the agenda has to be created. But yes, correct. It wouldn't be staff creating like, which we used to do with, again, I was only around, I think, for 4 meetings before it got disbanded as it existed. So, the conversation will be between city staff and the chair so that we can agree on what that agenda is going to be.
Is the floor open for nominations?
Floor is open.
Is anybody interested in the position?
Don't look at me.
Self-nominations are acceptable, so either nominations or self-nominations.
I would like to nominate John Nalbandian.
I think I'm going to decline. I think it's too new, it's new. It looks like much more structured than I am. So I think we're going to let someone else play with it. Thank you, though.
Marilyn, would you consider a nomination?
Maybe, it's really hard to understand, these changes and
It is a change.
the
It is
role of
absolutely.
the chair. Is that like meeting with you monthly? Is it emails? Is it?
Whatever the chair would, and that might be different from, as John mentioned, it might be different from chair to chair. Every year that might change. I'd say at the beginning, probably a little bit more communication, just so that we can, start to set some expectations of what we discuss. But I think again, I don't expect that there's going to be an big burden on anybody's time. But it'll depend on the communication mode and method of any given chairperson. I have to respond regardless of how many times, right? But it depends on how many, how you feel going into it, so.
And I just want to, there's, as John said, there's structure here, and we're all getting used to it. So the chair or presiding officer has the following duties: serve as a meeting facilitator, so the chair runs the meeting; maintain decorum, so far we've done well; ensure public participation; operate meetings fairly and impartially; ensure discussion is germane to the issue presented; maintain communication with the staff liaison; and address advisory board member attendance issues if that occurs. Obviously, if somebody's repeatedly not attending, then we have to address that. And that's on the staff liaison as well. All advisory board members have the following duties: ensure that a quorum is met through regular and punctual attendance; be prepared and participate in meetings; abide by the rules of this policy and the city's ethics policy; notify staff liaison of absences in a timely manner; keep contact information up to date; complete required training with or without reasonable accommodations within 90 days of appointment. The staff liaison serve as the primary contact between the advisory board and the governing body; answer questions of order in accordance with the city's rules and procedures; prepare agendas in collaboration with the chair or presiding officer; advise the chair or presiding officer of attendance issues; prepare the minutes; provide training for new advisory board members; and respond to disruptions at meetings. And then there's a whole list of norms that I will not go through, but that kind of cover responsibilities of everybody and expectations of responsibilities.
I will say that my experience with staff has just been wonderful. I mean, very responsive, very, can we meet? Even asking my opinion on things. So I think it's a very collegial kind of relationship.
I hope it is. Yes, absolutely. It should be. It should be. Yeah. And I just want to point one. There's, I think, a very clear point here under communications. It talks about how advisory boards shall receive direction from the governing body via the city's strategic plan and assigned work priorities, or via other specific direction from the governing body. So again, just tying it back to the strategic plan, and there's not necessarily direct communication this point between the governing body and the boards, because the strategic plan's already been set, so that's right, the instrument we're using now for communication. That can vary if the governing body so decides, but that's kind of our framework now. But I certainly would encourage anybody who would like to go ahead and either nominate yourselves or accept. I don't think, again, it's going to be overly burdensome, and if it is, that we may need to make adjustments, because it shouldn't be, right? We're using you as advisors, we're doing the work. So again, I don't think, based on your question, I don't think it's going to be too much to handle.
I'm not worried about it being too much to
Okay.
handle. I'm just worried that this is a huge departure from what we were doing, and I was pretty wedded to and liked what we were doing. And I don't think I'm the right person to take this step at this time.
Yeah, so maybe it ought to be one of our newer people.
I was going to say, since I was only on the board for less than a year, I will self-nominate because I can do the communication thing, at least by email.
Sure.
Just to get it taken care of.
Cool.
That's a good chairperson.
I would second Lisa's self-nominated.
As long as I have the floor. I apologize for being late. I went down to the park. So.
We thought you might be knocking on the door.
It's okay, I came here last month and there was no meeting.
Yeah, I think we've all had that experience. Understandable. All right, so we have Lisa is nominated, self-nomination. Thank you.
And I seconded it. I don't know if you have to record that or
Thank you.
not.
Yes, that needs to be in the minutes.
Yes.
Got it.
So let me ask, just for the official purpose here, she's self-nominated, so somebody be making the motion and then somebody else seconding it?
I'm glad I'm not the only one who wonders about these things.
Yeah. Which I would say.
Well, a nomination is a nomination, and both
Even if it's
a nomination. So if Marilyn had nominated her, then it would
would've
be
been
seconded.
seconded. Okay,
So
perfect.
she nominated herself, Marilyn seconded, so that's the same situation. Good question, though. Yeah, my Robert's Rules of Order is not always up to speed on things like that, but that's how that works. Okay.
A vote?
Anybody else? Well, I just want to make sure there's no other nominations or self-nominations. Seems like there is not. So yeah, I'll call for a vote. Everybody in favor of Lisa becoming the new chair of the new Parks and Recreation Advisory Board? Actually, we don't have to do it by roll. Well, I guess technically I probably do. So, you ready? Vicky,
Yes.
Ruth,
Aye.
Marilyn,
Approve.
John,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
and Taylor.
Yes.
You're okay with it? Okay, good. We have a new chair. Congratulations. Thank you for jumping in on that.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have to select a vice chair, or you have to select a vice chair. The vice chair shall serve in the absence of the chair and shall have those additional duties established by the advisory board's bylaws. So basically, if Lisa can't attend a meeting, then it would be the expectation that the vice chair would step in and monitor the meeting and that type of thing and just serve those duties. And I think there is something of a thought that the vice chair may also eventually step into the chair role if that works out. So that's the idea of this opportunity to sort of learn the ropes as you will. So same situation, nominations or self-nominations for vice chair.
I would nominate either Ruth or yeah.
This year, I think, I'm in leadership, Lawrence, and I think I might not, I think it might not be my year, but
Yeah. And I think,
Vicky, I think, I would really like to see Vicky involved more, because, I mean, my own sense is, you know, public health is so important. And we almost just take it for granted that we're in the public health business. But, you know, Vicky's right there, and she's got so much data that she can help us understand. I think that would be an asset, Vicky, if you're willing.
Yeah, okay.
I second. Sorry.
All right, so John nominated and
I seconded.
Lisa seconded. Thank you. Any other nominations or self-nominations? Okay, we'll call for a vote on this. Vicky,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
and Taylor.
Yes.
Excellent. You guys are good.
Great.
All right, now we have a chair and vice chair. Congratulations to both. Thank you for your willingness to serve. And then the last agenda item we have for tonight is to revisit scheduling, which has been a bit of a interesting challenge because the calendar is all up in the air right now. But we've been meeting on Mondays for a long time, I think. So this is the established time, and you can certainly pick this time, but if somebody wants to debate other times to meet, the slate is open as far as the calendar, as long as, now the caveat is we have to meet in this room.
that's why
so-
the schedule is,
Right, and that's why the schedule's sort of cattywampus, because every board already has an established meeting time, and they're deciding, like you are, do we want to stick with this time, or do we want to move? Of course, we had the advantage of being able to meet at the Parks and Recreation admin building, but now we're going to be up here, so we are competing with all the other boards and commissions, which happily are fewer than they were a few months ago. So anyway, you can just say we want to stick, or entertain
so
other
it'll be the
options.
second Monday of every month.
Second Monday of every month at 5:30 PM.
It works for me.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
That works for you to come
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Casey?
If that works for everybody, that's real easy. I can't guarantee it, to be honest with you, because it depends on if anybody else is interested in this time.
That's the problem, that what's open, so how can you?
Right.
I know.
No, I know. We had
I know.
that same concern.
I know.
So if it's, let's just, to put out there, if it's not the second Monday of every month, with the third Monday of every month, does Monday seem to work at this time? Or is there any, like, I can absolutely not do a specific Monday?
The third Monday is the health board meeting.
Okay. So first or fourth or last, or, okay. Just in case. I mean, I don't know that we'll have to go down that, but,
Yeah.
okay.
And this time, 5:30-ish is.
It's fine.
Taylor?
Yeah, so I'm a coach as well.
Uh-huh.
So during basketball season, which is second semester for me, I worry about pushing it to get here on time at 5:30. I'm fine with 5:30 now, but I was curious, like, with the timing and the day, is that set in stone for the entire year? Or if it,
Well, it is the way we've been doing it. But yeah, so now's the time to speak up in case you have some sort of conflict, even in the future. I appreciate you doing that. Of, yeah, what does it look like? Because I know that you come on K-10, I'm
I
guessing.
do, yeah.
That with bridge construction, that can cause delays.
Yes. Battling that. Is it too much to ask to push back to 6 or even 5:45 for myself? Just, is that too much to ask for the board?
When you say second semester, is that 2 months, 3 months?
That'd be starting in January,
Right,
January through
February,
January, February, yeah.
so it'd be 2 meetings.
Well, January, February, March, sorry. Yeah, but yeah,
Would 5:45 would allow you enough time? Never know, right?
yeah. Let's stick with, if it's only 2 meetings, I didn't think about those. Stick with 5:30. I'll make arrangements for just those Mondays for practice. We'll
And
make
if it helps, you can actually
Zoom.
call in.
If I get done late, I'll just Zoom in.
And
That's a
if
good
you-
point.
While you're commuting, we've all done it, where it's like you just kind of tune in, you don't have to have your camera on, we don't want any
I've
risk
never
of
done that.
risk of death. But then at least you're listening in until you can walk in the meeting, and that way you're still attending
Right.
and all that, but, and that takes the pressure off of you too, if you know, and obviously remind everybody that you have these commitments, and then it's understandable if you run late or something.
I appreciate you bringing that up. Like, kind
Yeah.
of that's 2 meetings, and if run late, I'll just Zoom from my classroom.
Or just bring the entire team.
Yeah, we'll just bring them up.
Line them up.
That's right.
All right, good. No, thanks. That's exactly why we do this, is just make sure we can really set a time that's amenable for everybody. Okay, so I think that gives us some information, and we can pass that on to the powers that be. And that is that. So I would ask our new chair to call for a motion on adjournment.
Do we have any calendar items?
Yeah.
Not that we were prepared for.
I just had a question about when will we have it confirmed that this is the date and time, do you know?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
I wish I could be more definitive. I'm going through this with the Art Commission as well. So we're kind of doing it month by month right now until we can figure out where it's established. So we'll let you know as soon as we can.
And I would propose that, and we'll get clearance, but if we don't have the answer for whatever reason, that maybe we meet at this time next month
And
until
thank you.
that
That's
is
actually,
changed.
that's what we've done with the Art Commission, is that if you guys are amenable, I think your next meeting time was November 11th, if I remember. If it was the same. So we should just agree, is that amenable to everybody, is go ahead and plan on meeting November 11th at 5:30, exactly 1 month from today. And I'll get that on the calendar at the very least, so at least we know month to month what we're doing.
Is that a city holiday? I know it's Veterans Day, but.
It's not, we
Okay.
can, yeah.
No, we
confirmed
checked
it's
on
not.
that too.
That's right.
We thought it was, but,
Strange, huh?
I thought it was too, yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's not at
federal, so
Explore
it's.
Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, and then like the university is kind of weirdly
That's right,
optional.
yeah,
So,
Yeah, sorry if people have that off, but yeah, we don't, interestingly, so. Okay, so plan on that, thanks, I forgot about that piece.
I
Go
have
ahead.
One other thing. Earlier, I had asked Vicki if she would make a presentation to the board on some of the numbers that show a relationship between Parks and Rec and Public Health. And she said she could do that. I just want to lay that out there. If we're interested in that, I assume Vicki, you could still do that.
Sure.
So I don't want to dictate
Yeah,
an agenda, but.
I don't even know how to proceed. I'm very interested, for sure. That I know, I guess the question is, is it germane to the strategic plan yet? So I'm wondering if there's like a,
Well, I'm wondering about UI1, frankly, just jumping right to it. Percent of residents are satisfied or very satisfied with the Parks and Recreation system. While that doesn't tie directly to health, I don't know, Vicki, you'd probably be the best at interpreting, out of all the progress indicators, what would that align best with, and how would that information benefit the board?
Yeah, I would need to look at them all in
Yeah, for sure.
totality. I know there are a few that we pay attention to, like the green canopy, which doesn't come up as a public health thing, but it is entirely. So that might be another way to think about the intersection with
Okay.
these KPIs and public health.
and I think that's perfect example of how the conversation should happen, right? We say what KPI can we address, whether it's us seeing the need, getting direction from city manager saying, hey, you guys need to work on this, or organically through the board saying we would like to, and have a conversation about that. I think one of the goals is not to have the advisory board telling the city what to do, but the city using the board as an advisors in whatever, it is that we're trying to tackle. So I think that's a perfect approach, is looking at, okay, where can we fit this in? And because we don't have a specific agenda right now, and I think that that's a good connection, intersection to, we can still say we're abiding by what the framework is. So,
Are the KPIs set in stone?
yes.
So we couldn't add
Not right
measure
now.
of, some measure of public health?
Not at this point. Because it's tied to the strategic plan that's been codified.
The strategic plan, though, will be updated from time to time, so that there will be opportunities to revisit that as well. One of the challenges we've faced as well is that creating KPIs that are measurable. We have a few from the first round that we had no way to measure, what it was, and then you get into the nitty-gritty of define event. What does that mean? And so we've been working actually with Explore Lawrence to figure out ways that we can use some of their existing new technology actually to take a look at those things and get better measurements. So we had to adjust in that sense, so just FYI.
And one would hope that by continuing the mission of providing these services, that you will, by its very name, we can keep public health as a thing that we as individuals are certainly focused on, but getting more people out, making sure that we are being out there in the community, providing services, that we're addressing all individuals in the community. If we do that, we work towards these goals. So
Being informed by all these,
Yeah.
this data, and so I think there's absolutely room for that, John.
yeah, we'll work around it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out as we go. I mean, it's a working group, right? They're hoping to get some product out of this, and
I have one more procedural question. So there will be an agenda published and sent out to the advisory board before the day of the meeting.
yes, did
Yes,
this
it will
just go
be a hill-
out today?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there wasn't, well, yeah, I guess I missed it, and so,
Okay.
it usually is like the week before.
Yes.
Yeah, usually we get it out a week ahead of time. And I think in this case, we'll probably consult with you.
Yeah.
Just touch base so you know what's going on. Some of this continues to be sort of scripted, if you will, not literally, but by the policy. So we're trying to figure that out as we go along. So we'll add those things that we need to.
And there's also, I just want to put out that there's no expectation that we have to be in the room when you guys are meeting, every Monday. You can, as an advisor, get together, as long as we're pointing at the strategic plan, hey, we'd like to consider this. Can we have that conversation? So it's not necessarily us in the room making the decision, as to what you want to address, as long as we can point to the strategic plan. We don't have to be in the room. You guys can say, hey, how about we propose this? How about we work on this? Just making sure it's tied back. And we don't even need to have an answer by next meeting. We can discuss this next meeting and how to proceed. And hopefully between now and then, a lot more boards will get together. We'll start to see the momentum that they're getting and how they're going about it. So I just want to keep that flexibility, that it doesn't always have to be the same. You may want to get together without us and have a conversation.
And I think that we as individual board members, we should feel free to talk to Luis and say, Luis, would you consider putting the following on the agenda? I think the board ought to talk about this. And if Luis says, no, it doesn't fit in the thing or whatever, okay, fine. But I think we need to feel like we can take some initiative to I mean, we're using the facilities, we're talking to people and so on and so forth. And we may have a perspective that, who knows, could be useful.
This really seems to be moving us away from department operations, which makes me wonder, why are we gonna have public comment? Because usually when people come for public comment, it's because the baseball fields aren't being taken care of, or there's something wrong with the swimming pool, or we want more pickleball courts. How do we notify any public commenters that we have nothing to do with that anymore?
I don't have the answer to that, but I will.
I mean, otherwise it seems a little disingenuous to
Although-
ask for public
Well,
comment if we're not gonna act on it.
formally, we advise the governing body. Formally, that's our role.
Right, but,
So,
Correct.
yeah, I just, we've been involved in a lot of operational conversations, and if we're taking all of that off the table,
I think we have to just play with this for a while and
Yeah.
see,
Okay.
and see, and maybe what would be useful is actually to formally say, okay, in 6 months or in 3 months, we're gonna have a conversation about board meetings.
And truthfully, I know that Sherry has given each board an agenda template, but she's also said you don't have to necessarily follow that exact template. So a fair question would be is if the board agreed, is public comment necessary? I mean, that would be another thing. I think, John, what this is reminding me of is when a group of people start a new game and somebody reads the instructions and you have those people whose brains like, oh, I get that. And then people like me going, what? And then you start playing the game and people are like, oh, okay, I get how this works. I kind of feel like we're in that realm of this is experimental, it is new, the structure's clear, but none of us are used to using that structure yet. So part of it is, how does this work? And I think we just saw an example of, oh, wait a minute, health isn't directly in the KPIs, but there is this UI1 which certainly references, and then I hear information I didn't know about, which is you guys are even looking at the green canopy, which is like, oh, that makes sense. That definitely affects our health whether we're conscious of it or not. So that's the kind of innovative thinking that starts emerging that might spawn other innovations as well.
And you can have
policy
public comment
adaptations.
around that as well.
Right.
Right? I mean, if we have an agenda item, we're talking about a specific KPI and it's on there, there is opportunity for
yeah,
public
totally.
dialogue
I'm
about
talking
that
about
as well.
general public.
Oh, okay.
Or you-
And it also is
someone
a-
wants to come and talk to us about the swimming pool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've
We're not
had,
interested, go talk to City Hall.
You need a zip line in South Park.
we've had guests many times who are, worried about fees at the rec center, or whether the community building's gonna be closed, or Prairie Park Nature Center's gonna be closed.
Right.
And we need to clarify to the public if our group is not dealing with any of that.
I cannot in any way imagine that the city commission would say, oh yeah, let them bring those things to us. We
know.
we don't have enough public comment as it is, so we
I
really
know.
enjoy it.
Well, so
Well, I
here's,
think that-
just for clarification, did you want to say something?
Well, I just think that then the loss is the opportunity for the public to engage in these topics, right? If, to your point, the city commission won't want it, isn't this the place for it, in spite of the shift?
Especially when one of the commitments or whatever it is
Engagement.
Community engagement.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tap in on this a little bit too, 'cause I've been around a while, and this is a pretty big change in community involvement. And if we're out in the public, I agree with Marilyn that, we're here to advise, we're here to listen to the community and give feedback to this group or to the department, but now that doesn't seem like this is the place to do it anymore. I really enjoyed getting the updates of programs, when's the lights gonna be turned on, for the holidays? Can we ask questions about that? Is there gonna be reporting on things that are coming up? And so if we don't know, how can we tell the public what's going on with our department and really promote what we're doing? I mean, even the thing like at Prairie Park, the dedication there, or at Rock Chalk Park. I mean, now, we gotta hunt for it if we can't get it here.
Well, that just tells me that we need to do a good job of communicating with the advisory board outside of the room, right? If you're not getting notifications of these things, you do need to be receiving as advisory board members.
Or as a department in general, we have to
Right.
shift our way of communicating if this is not intended to be the place for that anymore. That is something that we will have to work on in our daily work and find different ways to do it. So yeah, it's definitely a change.
But it's really a good opportunity for us to relay to the department of what we're hearing from the public, good and bad. I mean, there's a lot of good out there, but now this doesn't seem like the place that we can share that anymore.
Based on what I'm reading here, that's really not a task assigned to you all as board members. And so, point taken, and people can still, public comment is public comment. If it's on the agenda, people can come in and say anything they want for 3 minutes, if they think we need to have a zoo or whatever.
Well, if it's a dead end, though.
Well, it's not that we necessarily ignore it, but it doesn't lead to an future agenda item directly, unless it impacts our strategic plan. I think, there is a fine balance, and I will ask that question of that disconnect between public comment and community engagement, that is one of our commitments, and see what kind of feedback I get.
Yeah, good.
But
That's good.
but I don't have a direct answer to that
It's
concern.
simple things like questions like, I don't know, how's the turf fields going on out at YC? Where are we? How about the master plan or the comprehensive study? Where are we? I know but those are things that we can't even.
But that doesn't require board, that's not
That's
a
true.
board level thing. You can reach out, you know exactly who to reach out to. We'll give you that information. So I think,
Okay. So if I have a question, I can go downtown like anybody else can and just ask.
You, as an individual, you can email me.
No, I
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but this was always a great opportunity to share that information that we've all heard, because I may not have heard of something that John heard or Marilyn heard, or there's a lot of stuff out there that I don't hear until I get to this meeting.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's, and again, I'll try to get some answers. So these are two different issues. One is the public comment, the other one is about reporting,
Sharing
right? And
information.
updating. And I don't know that this precludes that. It doesn't say that we cannot update
Right.
the advisory board. It just kind of changes what the core mission of it was. So that's something we can talk about, something you can put in the bylaws of the board. I don't know, but I think we're gonna have to make a million little decisions right now before we start making big decisions, because it is very nuanced in a way. And we wanna make this productive. We wanna make it worth your while. We wanna be able to get, the advice that we're seeking. So, and that's what I'm saying. It's going to be a little bit of trial and error. But I'd love to hear, I'm glad to hear what you guys are sharing, because those are
Right.
things that are left out of this document, right?
Well, it's never
all the-
been my thought, I don't think the board's thought, that it's not our decisions to make decisions. We're here to advise and just share from the public information is all. And whether it's, any of these indicators or not, it was just nice to be able to share with the department as a board.
And for citizens in the forum, this is what I'm the most concerned about losing, because we don't seem to be creating a new way for citizens to engage. So I fear that that's going to get lost, and that it'll be a negative from the community's perspective.
Okay. I hear the concern.
I think we just need some experience now, right?
That's,
Yeah, let's see what happens.
And I guess I would, it says that our advisory boards can still be making recommendations for minutes and work plans. So if we have something on the agenda, then it'll be part of the minutes. It's just that we can't direct the governing body to act. So it's
We
really-
never have.
And we never have. And so I feel like it's,
I think city staff is the other, the governing body or city staff. I don't know if that's ever happened, but I think in some boards it had, and that's why they're trying to tighten boards. The board was telling city staff what to do, how to do it, what to spend their money on. And they're saying that's not the
Yeah.
function of an advisory board. So I think that's
feel
what
like-
this one
yeah.
outlines.
That makes sense.
And it doesn't mean that it was the Parks Board in any way or the Arts Board, but it did occur, and I think,
yeah.
from my understanding, they're trying to eliminate as I've heard a couple of times, the tail wagging the dog.
And that makes sense. So I would hope that it's going to be a new process, and it's not going to be a silencing of voices in any way. And that hopefully we can facilitate that.
Yeah, and the ordinance does speak specifically to bylaws. So advisory boards shall have bylaws governing their operations and meeting procedures, provided that bylaws comply with the intent of this article, as amended, comply with applicable laws, rules, and regulations, and are first approved by the governing body. So that's
Which does still
something-
allow for public comment
Right.
within the agenda. It's not required, but they're saying we can mimic the city commission agenda. If there's nothing to comment on, we don't have to, but I think that is the opportunity to address some of the concerns, and I will get clarification on that prior to the next meeting, so that we can, figure out the next steps in making sure that your concerns are addressed. Because the last thing I think any of us want to do is sit here and not be useful, or walk out with anything and that goes for all of us, that we can work toward. So it's important that these be meaningful meetings.
All right.
Are we done? Can I move to adjourn?
I'll second.
I think that, all in favor of adjourning, I'm not going to call a roll. Aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, very much.
Yeah, thank you.